Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Infinite Crypto Cruisers. Hey there, folks. My name is Brad Varnell, and this is the Infinite Crypto YouTube channel. And today I am I'm so excited I can't even hardly sit still, because not only are we going to learn about an incredible ecosystem and a couple of amazing tokens today, but we're also going to learn all about the Pulse Chain Network, which, folks, has just been absolutely crushing it. If you look at Bitcoin and most of the altcoin markets over the last handful of months, a lot of them have really been stagnant and really in a downtrend. But if you go look at the Pulse Chain ecosystem and look at a couple of the tokens that we're going to share with you today, you're going to see a chart that is up and to the right. It's super exciting. I've got a couple of people here from this community. Let's go ahead and pop them onto the screen and introduce them. First, we've got Prairie Banana, who is a top community member. And then we've got one of the founders of the Gray's Currency, Gray himself. So welcome to the channel, fellas. Excited to have you here and really looking forward to sharing everything, with my community and kind of learning a ton myself today.
Yay. Thanks, Brad, for having us. We really appreciate it. And we're excited to share with your audience these exciting, two of them, tokens on the Pulse network. Gray?
Yeah, Brad, I just wanted to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to come on to your channel and then also speak to your community. And I'm hoping to not only educate them on PTGC and UFO, but then also educate them on the Pulse Chain network as a whole. We're obviously builders on this specific network, and we're not only passionate about our projects, but also passionate about this extremely new and undervalued blockchain as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about it. So obviously I know about Pulse Chain and Hex. And, I've got a good friend that's in the cryptocurrency space, a gentleman named Dirty Crypto, that's like his passion is Pulse Chain and everything on it. And so I know a lot about it, but I'm just not familiar. Like I was telling Prairie Banana that I literally just yesterday added Pulse Chain to my MetaMask, and I just bridged some Ethereum over, bought some of my first Pulse tokens, and really, so that's just another reason that I'm excited today, is because I feel like this is opening up a whole new world in the blockchain space for me too.
Yeah, and I'm beyond happy to hear that PTGC and UFO as an ecosystem actually helped someone like you not only possibly get onboarded to these tokens, but also get onboarded to Pulse Chain as a whole. So, I just want to say welcome. I think you're going to be very, very happy with what you see over on Pulse Chain. A couple of the things that I love personally is once you end up over here and you start using the cheaper fees and stuff like that, it becomes addicting. Being able to do these swaps for such a good value, the fact that it's pretty much a direct fork of Ethereum. If you are from Ethereum, it's a pretty easy transition as a whole.
And great timing too.
Sure.
In addition to the fact that you probably have tokens waiting over here for you.
Right?
Yeah.
So Grays, we don't want to take too much time, but if you want to just kind of give my community a little bit of your background, how long you've been involved in this crazy world of blockchain, and how this, UFO token. I always want to goof up the name of the other token. So let me look at it again here. PTGC. So PTGC was first, and then UFO token came in second. So if you want to just give folks a little bit of your background and then how these came to fruition, we would love to know a little bit more about the beginning.
Yeah, so going way back, I'll kind of give you how I even ended up in blockchain. In the real world, I still have a business that about 5 years ago, it started doing decently well. So instead of pretty much reinvesting within the business, there was actually an additional amount of capital that I could invest outside of the business. So in real life assets or traditional finance, etc. And what I found out really quick is a lot of the traditional finance markets, a lot of the gains there are really diluted due to inflation. So yeah, you are getting gains, but the inflation around you is happening at such a rapid rate. The gains are actually not that good. And they're kind of, in a form, smoke and mirrors. If if you make 10% on an asset, but inflation's at 10%, you're in a way making absolutely nothing. So then I started kind of going and looking at more higher appreciation assets, and I landed on Bitcoin and Ethereum for an example. And from there, I started, learning about blockchain, learning about Bitcoin, learning about Ethereum. And I had a family friend who was a Hex guy. So he was day one Hex. When he found out I was kind of getting myself involved, he was like, hey man, let me put you down the rabbit hole of Hex, Richard Hart, and really start paying attention to this. And when he put me down that rabbit hole, in another world, I became like obsessed. This was like a form of knowledge that I wasn't getting anywhere else as far as DeFi goes, as far as how these systems operate. And I thought it was such an amazing asset as far as like connecting in real life asset abilities to the blockchain, which we don't really always need to reinvent the wheel. And I think RH did really well with Hex, is he took a lot of traditional finance elements and just brought them over to the blockchain. And I found that really, really fascinating. So then I started to ask myself, well, this product's amazing. Let me see what other real assets are out there on the blockchain, like real DeFi finance protocols. And I started looking all throughout many blockchains, many tokens. And what I found is there's not a lot of legitimate projects on these blockchains. And if they are legitimate, they've already done thousands of X's, or they have VCs involved. So for like an average person like you or me, it's very, very difficult to find these really good projects and actually have the ability to get into them early. The projects that are actually put out there for an average Joe are literally just casinos, rug pools, gambling plays. And I didn't come to crypto to gamble. I came to crypto to invest. So what I actually started spending a lot of my time doing is studying hundreds of different products, not only on blockchain, but also in real life products, and pulling out what made them successful, what made them fail, and trying to build an end-all be-all asset on the blockchain. And that's ultimately what PTGC and UFO have ultimately the goal of them to be, is an end-all be-all product where you have the ability to do a lot of X's, you have the ability to earn APY, they're scarce, they have value generating principles to them, so they're not relying on human interaction, they have supply and demand control, so they take a lot of the aspects that actually give things in real life value, and we're just bringing them to the blockchain to create a unique product.
I love that. And on a side note, and this is just a little bit of extra alpha for everybody watching, about 12 years ago, I was going to do a lease option on a house. And before I did it, I asked a buddy of mine who was an accountant for his opinion, and he gave me all of the reasons that it wasn't a good idea, and I didn't end up doing it. And one of the things that I've learned in my life is to never take advice from somebody that isn't where you want to be, from somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. Why in the world was I taking advice about real estate investing from an accountant? And that kind of happened to me with Hex. So back in 2017, 2018, I had a really good friend of mine that was super, really crypto knowledgeable. But in his opinion, he thought that Hex was owned by just a few people, and all of the, like all of the bigwigs, all of the, like it was just owned by all of the bigwigs, and it was too controlled. And then the other thing, I saw that, like people were staking it for 5,555 days. And I'm like, why in the world do I want to not have any access to my funds for 15 years? And I kind of shied away from Hex back then because of his opinion. And then I realized later on down the road that he didn't know what he was talking about. And so I just tell those stories for all of you that are watching this video. Make sure that you get the right information from the right people when you're doing your due diligence and checking stuff out, because I believe that little bit of bad information that my friend gave me back in 2018, although it came from a good place, he was trying to do something good for me. Hey, he had good intentions. It cost me a bunch of money.
Yeah, and I feel like that story is that happens all the time. And I think it's a lot to do with, in the crypto space, there's a lot of hay, there's a lot of noise. So for a common person, or even someone who's involved in this stuff every waking minute, right? Like someone who spends 12 hours a day focused on crypto, it actually is still very, very difficult to find the needles in the haystack, because there is so much hay, there is so much noise. So even once you do find that needle, you start even second guessing yourself sometime. Like, is this a piece of hay that's just painted like a needle? Like, what am I not seeing here? And then even when you find that needle as well, how you're programmed in this space as well is, after you do a 2, a 3, a 4x, to take profits, take profits, take profits. And this is a great idea for unsustainable products, which is 99% of cryptos out there. 99% of them actually fail after their first little run. So taking profits off of little x's is actually very smart. But if you actually find one of the needles in the haystacks, the ones that is checking all your boxes, these are the ones that you actually want to pay attention to and hold on to. Because there is that 1% that do have the sustainability built into the code, into the community, into the product, that will actually be able to go multiple cycles and outperform pretty much everything else in the market.
Awesome. And it feels like you guys are just square full on believing that Hex and Pulse Chain and your guys' projects are some of those needles in the haystack.
I personally do. I think that they check for me. I had like boxes that I was looking to check for investments that I spend money on. And the products as a whole, if you look at what the products do, how they've operated, they both have been out for, Pulse Chain's been out for more than 1.5 years. Hex has been out for 5 years. But when you really start creating a list of boxes and you start checking them, I believe that the RH tokens, the RH blockchain, Pulse Chain, and even our tickers, PTGC and UFO, check more boxes than people realize of what they're looking for in a financial product or in a token on the blockchain.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate the background and a little bit of the history there. And, I think that anybody that's watching that maybe hasn't participated in Hex or in the Pulse Chain ecosystem yet is at least open-minded at this point to the possibility. So with that, Prairie Banana, do you want to kind of take over? Do we share your screen and kind of have you show us a little bit more about what PTGC actually is and how it works?
Sure. I'm happy to do that. I wanted to make a comment is that, like we were talking in the green room, Brad, is that PTDC and UFO are basically an index of the top tickers or projects on the Pulse network. So by holding these two assets, you effectively own a piece of all the assets that they're bonded with. And as I will show you, they're waxing eloquent against a lot of these other assets.
Okay.
Zen, were you going to say something?
No, I wasn't, okay. But I can chime in once you're done too.
Okay. And the one asset that I'm most excited that they're working their way up against is the layer 1 that they're riding on. Each of these tokens is moving up in ratio against the layer 1. And now you just came onto the Pulse network, but a little bit of background is that the Pulse network has only been around for almost 2 years. It has been going mostly sideways for that 2 years because we've been in a bear market. Okay. So, but there was a sacrifice price for each token before it launched. And it is right now, it's like half of that sacrifice price. And it has been above, but not much and not for very long, for pretty much its entire existence. And I'm going to show you how UFO on the screen over here, how UFO, okay, there's a little trick that we can do with our charts. Right now, this chart is in USD. This is the UFO token on the daily in USD. Now I can flip the chart over here. You see this WPLS? That's the Pulse Chain token. And I'm going to click, when I click on there, it's going to show UFO in terms of WPLS.
Okay.
And what that means is it's in ratio. If you see the price over here, that's 1.6167 WPLS per UFO token. It was a lot lower several months ago. It has increased. That means you have to pay more PLS per UFO token. And the same is true for PTDC, the brother token. And what I like to do is zoom out a little bit, and you can see how this token has been moving up against the layer one that it's riding on. And it almost looks like there's no volatility back in here, but there really is. If you zoom in properly, you can see it. So that's UFO. We'll click over to PTDC just real quick, and we'll go straight to PTDC versus WPLS and look at that beautiful chart. It's effectively, I mean, we finally reached 1-to-1. It was a dream. Can we reach 1-to-1 parity with the network token? Well, we finally did it on August 26th last year. Now we are 20-to-1. So if a person held PLS on August 26th last year and had flipped it into PTDC, they would be 20x up on their PLS.
Wow.
And I'll spare you showing all the other tokens, the PDI that we're paired with, the hexes, the ink, the teddy bear, all these tokens that we've bonded with. And they're all basically, they're not all the same as this. They're not all as dramatic, but we've been moving up against most of them, if not all of them.
If I could chime in real quick, Banana,
Yes, sure.
if you don't mind. I wanted to rewind a little bit just when Banana brought up that we are an index of pretty much all the blue chips on chain. So one of the things in the design of the system is we're studying like what are the biggest sectors in markets, right? And obviously we're in one of the biggest sectors right now, finance. So crypto is technically under the finance sector. So we already are operating in one of the sectors that have the most value. Well, now you kind of want to look at, well, what sectors within that sector have the most value? Stores of value hold a huge percentage of the finance sector. What are the reason people are going into Bitcoin? What are the reason people are going into stocks? A lot of the times they're not going into a stock because they love that product. People aren't buying Coca-Cola stocks because they love Coca-Cola. They're going into Coca-Cola stocks because they want to store their value there and they want it to appreciate. So when we're building these assets, we wanted to hit some of the biggest sectors. And what we believed is one of the biggest sectors is stores of value, because people want to park value there and have it appreciate. And when it appreciates, they obviously usually keep it there longer, which in crypto, the more people you have buy and hold creates price appreciation. This is obviously the goal. So this is a problem we're trying to solve and create a product that fits this need. But what we also realized is another huge sector in that category is indexes. People want to get into one asset and hold many. And what we actually found out is we could do this in a decentralized manner by creating a liquidity web. So we connected our asset with the top assets on chain, making it so when you own PTGC or when you own UFO, you actually own all of the top assets on chain by just holding one asset. And what's more importantly, when we did this, we actually also solved the main problem of all of tokens in crypto. And just to give you a little backstory on this, when I was spending multiple years designing this product, there was one still issue that I was stuck on for a long, long time, and that's demand.
Right.
So with anything, if you can control supply and demand, you can ultimately control the price. And in crypto, controlling supply is actually very, very easy, because you just write the supply within code. You can make it deflationary. You can make it inflationary. You can do whatever you want. But if you don't have demand, you ultimately have nothing. And this is the rise and this is the demise of every product. And usually, eventually, demand slows down and dies. And this is what kills 99% of protocols. This is what creates price depreciation, etc. So I was really, really stuck on this idea. And as I was studying this index style web, I came across to actually mechanically drive demand without any human interaction. And when I figured out how to do this, it actually brought chills down my whole entire body, because I just spent the last 2 years trying to solve something like this, and I knew it was a hurdle I was running into. And it's actually really, really simple and unique. But what it does create is it gives the user the ability to be connected to a bunch of amazing assets, but then have the mechanics to outperform them based on a mechanical system. And if you look at where we are in the world today, look at jobs. They're getting replaced by machines. Why? Because human interaction sucks. You don't want to depend on humans to do a job. You rather just have a machine. In tech, why are we switching to AI? Why? Because human interaction sucks. It just makes sense that in crypto, we would also increase demand with mechanical reasons instead of human interaction. So what we actually found is we can push the demand into the system via this liquidity web, and the utility is the only guarantee that markets give. When the markets move up and down, it creates imbalances in prices between different liquidity pools. So we're connected to 20 different assets. Every single day, those assets shift up and down against each other, just depending on what the market does that day. Some people buy this, some people buy that. The whole market goes down because of bad news. Market goes up via good news. There's a shift between this asset and that asset. It doesn't matter. This just happens all day. And what happens is market makers now need to fix the prices. And now when the market makers fix the prices, we charge the market makers a fee, and then that fee goes back to the underlying value of the protocol via APY and buy and burns. And what this actually mechanically creates is a system that actually just keeps pushing the chart upwards against the blockchain over time. Obviously, there's wicks and then dips when humans interact with the system, but they're not needed to interact with the system. So they kind of the human interaction amplifies the system, but the backbone and the foundation of the system is actually a mechanical setup that isn't reliant on the humans to operate. What it's actually dependent on is just having LP, having liquidity. And what we actually do with that liquidity is, in a standard token, that liquidity is just sitting there for users to enter in and out, like just money in a cash register. But what we actually do, and this is really the basics of anyone, once you get value, you want to put that value to work. You don't just hide it under your mattress. So what we do is we put all that value to work 24/7 a day, 24/7 hours a day, and that value is constantly working for the system, making it stronger and stronger and stronger. And currently, to date, I think we have roughly like $45 million in liquidity between these two assets. So we're not only backing our assets by tons of value to support the holders, we're actually putting this value to work, which is a pro as well.
Wow. And so a quick question that came to my mind, how and who decides which projects end up in this index? Is it you? Are you the ultimate decider as to when something comes and goes from the fund, or how is that all figured out?
So both protocols do this in a different way. So UFO has a farm built into the code. So it's actually ranking in, I think, the top 20 of all farms within blockchain to date. But UFO has a farm built within the code, and there's actually 6 predetermined tokens that are in the farm. So users get to add to these farms really either anyone they want, depending on if they have extra or something, or if there's a token that they don't want to or they don't mind impermanent loss with, or if they think UFO and this asset are going to perform well together, they'll pair those ones. But what the farm is ultimately made up of is RH assets and a forked over token called PDI. Ultimately, just because they've been the safest tokens on the blockchain to pair with as far as sustainability goes. But how PTGC is different is PTGC actually has a DAO built into the code. So with every single transaction, funds go into this DAO, which is ultimately a treasury that the community votes on. And if you're a staker within PTGC, you have your say in that DAO. If you're a top 100 staker, you actually can even create proposals on where that value is actually pushed. If that value is going to buy-in burns of the asset or liquidity adds of the asset. But a majority of the liquidity web was actually created at launch, if that makes sense, because we kind of had a good idea which assets were going to have sustainability on this chain. The ones that were heavily connected to Richard Hart, the founder of the blockchain, were a pretty easy decision. So those actually make up a good portion of the blockchain, and that's actually why this mechanic can thrive so well on this blockchain. Since it was a fork of Ethereum, when Ethereum was forked, it kind of gave a reset of all of the assets that were on Ethereum, because all of those assets got brought over. And not only those assets got brought over, the founder of the blockchain had his own gas token, and the gas token was extremely undervalued. So it gave us the ability to pair with what possibly could be the next version of Ethereum. It's pretty much Ethereum just with a better deflation rate off of volume, so it can actually deflate at it with less GWE ultimately. And then on top of that, he has his own DEX token, which in form is pretty much just a token that's for the main DEX on chain. But as every single trade happens on chain, it buys and burns the DEX token, ultimately adding constant buy pressure. So we're able to pair with the gas token, the DEX token. Richard Hart obviously has his Hex, which is his form of a better Bitcoin. So a huge store of value we're able to pair with. We were able to pair with also a couple forked over tokens, which were extremely undervalued at the time of the fork. So we're able to scoop those up. So ultimately what we're able to do is we're able to take a look at the blockchain, realize what blue chip assets had good value, good sustainability, and we're currently undervalued, and that's what we made our web up of. We are constantly adding new ones to it. For an example, Richard Hart recently just launched a pump.fund fork. And when he launched that fork, there was a couple assets that he, in a way, put his name on. And he doesn't tweet about meme coins, but he tweeted about this one meme coin. So what our DAO was able to do was actually take action on this meme coin, buy it up, and then pair it in LP. And the interesting thing about this is we spent in all $45,000 on this meme token, right? Which isn't that much money. But our system, off of this new liquidity leg, it had so much volume within the first couple of days. Our system completely generated enough value to pay the system back within 4 days. So now we have this leg, so we have this machine that now is working for us for the rest of the eternity of this blockchain that paid for itself in 4 days. So how I like to relate this back to the real world is, imagine if you had a business and you needed a machine in this business. And imagine you bought this machine, and within 4 days, the work you did with that machine paid for the machine. And now you have that machine forever to continuously do work. And there's no maintenance on this machine. There's no employees on this machine. It runs autonomously on the blockchain for the rest of the existence of the blockchain.
And the machine becomes more valuable.
And it increases. Yeah, as the blockchain increases in price. So that's another interesting thing is, as the blockchain and as we increase in price, our liquidity web increases in price. And when the liquidity web increases in price, like right now it's roughly 45 million. Well, let's say Pulse Chain goes up 2x. Well, then it will be around 100 million. And not only do we have more value backing our asset, now market makers need to move more money to fix these LP pools because they're bigger. So now we get to charge the market makers 2 times the amount of value because the liquidity is 2 times to fix the price. So we actually generate twice as much money. That's only a 2x of the blockchain. Imagine a 10x of the blockchain. And that's like one reason why like we're working really hard to keep educating people on this system, because no one even knows it exists. It's never been seen before on any other blockchain. And the fact is since Pulse Chain is still so undervalued, it's giving a huge discount to both PTGC and UFO. Because when Pulse Chain starts to go up, it's going to multiply our system due to the X multiplier. We'll go over that in a little bit too, but I'll let Banana get back to his slides.
That makes so much sense. So, in fact, that gentleman that I was telling you about, Dirty Crypto, he's got a Telegram group, and he actually talked about the meme coin that I believe you were referring to when it was about 1 cent. And I watched him talk about it over the next week and watched it go up to around 20 cents. And I think it's retraced back to about 7 right now, if we're talking about the same token. And that was another reason that I got excited when we got connected and I realized that I was going to learn how to invest and how to take advantage of this ecosystem. That's another reason I was super excited. I thought, man, had I already known how to trade and buy tokens and do everything I needed to do on Pulse, I probably would have taken his recommendation and made, several $1,000s on that meme coin. Instead, I sat on the sidelines and didn't participate.
Yeah, and what's kind of nice is even like a lot of people within even Pulse Chain didn't take action on those meme coins because like a lot of people aren't like meme coin people, right? Like they just want to find a couple assets and hang out with their family and go to work and not be looking over crypto Twitter and these TGs. But actually anyone who was in PTGC and UFO, even though they didn't get into that token, got to still reap the benefits of that token existing because that token's volume paid our system. So they got to make money off of it. And it's not only on the way up. So what a lot of people don't realize is with most assets out there, you only make value due to that asset going up. But we've actually tokenized the volatility and volume of assets. So a lot of people think like, ooh, that token has volume. That's good for that asset. Well, a lot of that volume is from people selling. A lot of time that volume is price going down. The real people who make money off of volume is liquidity providers and exchanges, especially centralized exchanges. So what we did is we realized and like really like rewind and think like, what are some of the most profitable companies in the last 10 years? Centralized exchanges. Why? Because they're charging a fee on transaction for not only humans interacting with it, but market makers interacting with it as well. Market makers fixing prices between big liquidity webs. That's all these are. So we just recreated that same model in a decentralized fashion on Pulse Chain. Just like, and when you really think about that, you're like, that is huge because you think about how big exchanges are and how much value that generates. What happens if instead of that value going to a bunch of overhead and a bunch of employees and a centralized entity, if 100% of that value went back to a singular token and a singular community to keep increasing the price over time?
I want to make a comment, if you don't mind. The pound UFO that we're seeing in the chat, just so the audience knows, that's not our UFO. Our UFO, if you guys want to find it, it's at pulsetgc.com. Pulsetgc.com. I'll post it in the chat. I just thought it might be worth mentioning. And
Sure.
Go ahead, Brad.
Part of the reason that I put that there is if you do go to CoinGecko, there is let me go back here. This is what I was looking at when we were getting ready to do the stream. So this is on CoinGecko, and so that's where the pound UFO came from. And if they go to CoinGecko, they can see the price. Now I will make it clear here, folks, for you. If you type in UFO on CoinGecko, it is going to bring up UFO gaming and UFO token. So you do want to make sure that you're looking at the right token here. But I was also pulling up, if you go to CoinGecko, you could pull up the PTGC here too, the Gray's currency. And I think this is the one. I didn't realize, guys, that this is where you wanted us focused, or else I would have probably branded it a little bit different. But this is the Gray's currency here, and the the PTGC token, just to clarify for all of you that are watching the video today.
Sure.
Yeah,
And that,
yeah, really, there's no focus between the two. They both operate off of the same value generating mechanic. They just do it in two different ways. One
Okay.
does it completely with a farm, so the community is actually providing liquidity and earning APY based on them farming. You can also just hold the UFO token, and all of the people who are farming are actually earning you APY just for holding up the assets price, just for holding. You're also holding a highly deflationary token, so both these tokens are highly deflationary. To where PTGC operates more off of a single-sided staking mechanism, to where all you do is have to buy it and single-sided stake. Currently, I think the APY with UFO is a little better, even just for holding, due to it being structured a little bit differently. So what we kind of always tell users, because they're like, well, which one? Which one? If one isn't standing out to your specific needs and what you like in crypto, they are actually very, very similar with a lot of their properties. Then look at both, because if you can't decide, you're probably more on the lines of you just really like the value generating mechanism of these, and they both have them.
Okay.
Yep.
so on the topic of them being an index of the tickers on the Pulse network, they're a great place for people that are brand new to the network. If you don't know what to buy, if you don't want to, if you want to play the meme coin game and buy most token, or if you want to get into, a buy and hold like Hex or Pulse, great. But if you don't know where to start, PTC and UFO are a great place to start, because like we've said, they're bonded to those other assets. And
Okay.
I'm going to share some slides, and
Yes,
I'm going to highlight that these tokens are, just whenever you're ready, Brad.
Yeah. You need me to? Oh, you've got another screen you want me to share?
Yes, down there. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You got it.
Both of these tokens provide passive income, and who doesn't love passive income? They're a great place to store economic energy. I liken them to real estate, only quite a bit better, because you don't need to deal with any tenants. You don't have to deal with any bookwork. You don't even have to cash a check. There's no overhead. You just hold these tokens and they pay you. There are other things that you can do with each token besides just hold it. But in just holding, you earn what are called reflections. PTDC, the holders earn 1%. You see that 5% up there? Both of these are fee-based tokens.
Yep.
Of the 5% for PTDC, 1% goes to holders. And there's another thing you can do with your PTDC, which is you can stake it. 1% goes to stakers. And then there's another function which you can do to earn passive with PTDC, which is locking it. But the locking rewards aren't paid out of that 5%. They come from other users that break their lock early. UFO is a 6% fee.
Can I interject right there, Banana?
Yes.
Just because Brad earlier in the stream said he didn't really like the idea within Hex that you had to lock to stake, right? This is a thing that some people don't like, giving up the fact that they could sell at any point. So with PTGC, when you stake, you actually don't have to lock it. You can just stake it. And what the penalty is just whenever you want to leave, it's a 1% fee. You can leave within 1 day. You can leave within 2 years. It doesn't matter. You can go a step further and lock it up as well. But one thing that is unique to our system with staking or locking is the APY that you're receiving does not land in the stake or the lock. So all the APY that you are receiving is accessible at any time, claimable to your wallet, and you don't have to end a stake or a lock to access it. Hex is a good example to where the APY you receive actually does get stuck in the lock until you fulfill the time period. And we thought, I had actually the family friend, he had a lot of tokens locked up, but he really needed some extra cash, but he was unable to access even his APY due to everything being locked up. So that was one of the reasons we added this specific function to this code, to where even if you're staked or locked, you actually never have to close any of that down to access your APY. It's claimable to your wallet at any time. Okay, keep going, Banana.
You know, thanks for adding that clarity, because that is important. Not everybody likes to lock. So with UFO, there the two ways that you can hold UFO is just hold it, or you can LP it with like the 6 tickers that we just discussed, the 6 main RH tickers, and you want to do all that on the site, the DApp.
Okay.
So we talked about the liquidity web, and I've got a slide that illustrates that. So PTDC and UFO are thickly bonded together. That their largest LP is with each other, but they're also bonded with, like I said, the main tickers on. And some of you, I imagine most of your audience will not recognize, but some people that are familiar with these will recognize, like, these are the banger tickers on the Pulse network, and we're bonded with all of them. These are the most promising projects, if you will. So these tokens are effectively, we like to call them the easy button. If you don't know where to start, you start with these two.
Okay. I love it.
Now, this slide here is going to show you how, on a shorter time frame, how PTDC and UFO have been moving up against Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum. Can you kind of see how they've been moving together?
Yep.
Okay. Do you see how they move in like a non-linear fashion?
Yes.
Only it's much more amplified.
Right.
Right. Okay. Now we're going to look at this in a longer time frame. Give me 1 second. So basically, the core tokens, if you want to call them that, the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, in this one example, they look flattened against that kind of performance, but that just happens with everything, and it doesn't mean that there wasn't volatility. You see it back here and when it's flat. But look at this chart. PTDC and UFO versus these tokens. Now, I have 2 more slides that are very similar, and they're going to show these 2 tokens versus the tokens that we're most heavily bonded with on the Pulse network. And you're going to see the same. Spoiler alert, you're going to see the same thing. Okay, here we go. Shorter time frame again.
Yep.
Okay. And to me, this is like more clear. Like they're so strongly correlated. It's a crystal clear. And then you go into the longer time frame, and look at that.
Wow.
That's impressive.
So what we've actually noticed is on chain, due to us being connected to all these assets, we obviously get moved up and down with these assets, just like how usually when Bitcoin moves up, Ethereum will move up, or when Bitcoin moves down, Ethereum will move down, just due to them being connected, and also all the Ethereum alt tokens, right? You'll have Ethereum rise up and it will drag up all of the connected assets as well, because everything's connected in liquidity, and everything in liquidity is ratio based. But what we've actually found with our system, when this happens, it actually amplifies our system. And the truth is, it hasn't even really happened yet. We've only just seen little glimpses of what the future could hold. When Pulse Chain moves up a little bit, we move up a little bit more. And that's due to the fact that we get the X's that Pulse Chain does. So for an example, if Pulse Chain went from, let's say our ratio was 1-to-1, 1 PTGC equals 1 Pulse, and 1 Pulse went from 1 penny to 10 cents. Well, if it was 1-to-1, then PTGC went from 1 penny to 10 cents, right? This is just ratios and how they work. A lot of times with alt tokens, the reason this doesn't happen is human interaction. So when the blockchain drags it up, people think they're up on their alt token, so they'll rotate that profit back to the gas token. But the truth is, they're actually not up usually, because ratio-wise, they actually received less ETH. It just felt like they're up because they got more dollar value. So this happens a lot of time with unsustainable alt tokens on blockchain. So the blockchain will move up, people will rotate out to them. They actually didn't make any money. They just ended up in the exact same spot. But with our system is we kind of see it operating in the opposite fashion. Is because of them being sustainable and store of values on chain that pay you APY just for holding and are hyper deflationary, when the assets we're connected to move up, we've actually been known to move up more because there's that constant demand that happens through our mechanics, constantly pushing the price up even more. And since our machine operates off of volume and volatility, every time the blockchain slightly turns on, like when there's movement of up pressure or even down pressure on chain, we use that movement to generate value, and then we inject that value into our system, making it to where the price appreciates even more. And you can kind of see, if you go back, Banana, to that slide with us in the RH tokens. There, you can see when the RH tokens at the bottom slightly go up, we trend up more. Or when they go down, we do trend down, but we're actually still making higher highs on top of them. And that's because when all this movement is happening, we have an extreme buy and burn happening. So that's an investor that's buying up the chart and just sending the tokens to the dead address. We're just doing that within code.
Right. I'm so glad that you brought that up, and I'm hoping that I can kind of explain this quickly and eloquently for those of you that maybe didn't catch that. This is something that is so important in cryptocurrency and just in real world that you need to know. And so basically the point that I believe Grays is making is, let's say that you had 1 Bitcoin and then you decided to take that money and transfer that Bitcoin into your favorite altcoin. And over the next 3 or 4 months, your altcoin went up and it 3x'd. So your 1 Bitcoin at $100,000 today your altcoin was worth 300 grand. But during that time frame, Bitcoin went up even higher. And so now you went to take that $300,000 and go back and buy your Bitcoin back, but you were only able to buy, say, 0.75, 75% of a Bitcoin. Even though in US dollar value, you went from 100,000 to 300, you actually lost 25% of your Bitcoin. And folks, we all realize that fiat is garbage. And, tokens like Pulse Chain and Ethereum and Bitcoin are stores of value. And so you actually, in a sense, even though it feels like you're up a couple $100,000 in US dollars, you actually lost meaningful value. Does that make sense? Did I explain that halfway correctly, Grays? Is that kind of the point you were trying to make?
It's exactly what I was getting. And a lot of people will make those movements thinking they're up, but the truth is they aren't.
And so what Grays is explaining is that with this token, it's actually out moving the Pulse Chain. So in a lot of cases, when it gets this big move, if Pulse Chain goes from a penny to 10 cents, and you have your money in the the PTCG, you're actually going to you'd be able to sell your PTCG tokens for more Pulse Chain than you would have if you would have just had it in the Pulse Chain the whole time.
Exactly. And the last spring during this time, there was a 3-month period where Pulse did a 4x, PTDC did 42x in that time frame.
Wow.
Yeah. We're looking forward to many more X's.
Yeah, absolutely. So
we have a strong history.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize you kind of have to ask yourself, because people want to move money around. They think being proactive is good, and it's usually not good. When you're moving money around, 99% of people actually lose on their movements, just not knowing how all these systems work. So what you have to kind of do is slow down and ask yourself, is this asset going to outperform the gas token of the blockchain? Because is there a reason for you to go to a more illiquid asset if it's not outperforming it? And has it been designed mechanically to outperform it? Usually the answer is no. So then your answer needs to be okay, is this just a quick flip due to a fun theme or narrative, that's usually the answer, right? Like, hey, I'm just gambling. And that's a lot of movement on chain, which is fine. Like, I'm not against people gambling, but just understand that you're just gambling, right? You're not actually investing. But if you are someone who's looking to invest, I like to look at, and this is an extreme example, but consider the gas or transaction or the gas token of the blockchain more like the transactional currency, right? There isn't a lot of mechanics put behind it that are put there for price appreciation. Compared to fiat, they're absolutely amazing. But what we need to remind ourselves is they are designed to be the transactional currency of the chain. They're there to pay for the fees of the chain. Is there actually other assets built on the blockchain that have been designed to be a store of value and for price appreciation and built-in APY? The answer is yes, there is. So if you look at like a person in the real world, right, they'll have, let's say a wealthy person has $10 million. And do you ask them, do you have all $10 million in the transactional currency? The answer is always no. Why would they have 100% of their value in the transactional currency? Usually 90% of it, or even sometimes more, is in a good store of value that they're earning APY on off of a value generating system or price appreciation. So again, a lot of people aren't realizing with blockchain, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to put air and rubber around it to make it a smoother ride. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do is, hey, you don't need to go to a different place like fiat to go try to earn APY off of an asset. There's actually assets built on chain that you can do it with mechanical systems put in place, with liquidity to back it, with hyper-deflationary mechanics, to where you can sit here and actually appreciate your assets in a very fast fashion, which, like, look at the charts, they're obviously appreciating decently fast, and it's still like really, really early considering the fact that majority of people in blockchain don't even really know Pulse Chain exists and has like a thriving ecosystem, let alone like the world, right? So you look at like, who knows, I think Banana said there's like 3,500 people that have over $1,000 of PTGC, and it's like 2,000 people have over $1,000 of UFO. And if this is a true sustainable asset, ultimately the truth is no one knows that these assets even exist today. No one even knows Pulse Chain even exists today. So where we are in crypto, the whole world still needs to find out about crypto, DeFi, Pulse Chain, let alone PTGC and UFO. Really, the upside is limitless when you think about that.
Yeah, very much agree, 1,000%. Can we go back? Man, I wish I had somebody writing down some of this stuff. You said something a minute ago that just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I love it. It was something along the lines of the blockchain doesn't need a new vehicle. It just needs you to build some air and rubber around it. Can you make that statement again, please? Because that made so much sense.
Yeah. So like with the design of this asset, when we're studying hundreds of different tokens, hundreds of different in real life assets, investments, etc., you start to realize is we know how to create value. We know how to create scarcity. We know how, like, value has been around for thousands of years. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to put air and rubber around it to make it a smoother ride. So that's
Love it. I'm going to steal that.
Here.
I'm going to definitely be using that in my future YouTube videos. I'll give you the credit, though.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite example for that is Uber, right? Taxis were around for a good 20 years. And as the world evolved around taxis, apps came out, technology came out, and then someone came along and created Uber. Sadly, completely wiped out taxis. But you do have to realize technology is going to wipe out other assets in the real world. It's just bound to happen. Look at what Bitcoin's done as far as a store of value. And I won't lie, think about how much economic energy that has taken from the gold and silver industry. But
Yep.
it's the truth. As the world evolves around us, we have to evolve with it and know that different stores of value are going to come out based off of where we are in the market and what we are capable of getting our hands on as far as tech goes. And I'm going to hit you with another really, really good example. This one's a little bit longer, but I love it. I got this from a video back in the day, and I've kind of expanded on it. But let's say you have a basket of 100 apples, a basket of 100 oranges, and $100, right? And the 100 oranges is, let's say, Bitcoin. Let's pretend it's not inflationary for a little bit. It's got a set supply. Technically, it does. So that's what we're going to work with is Bitcoin. And then the $100. As the government keeps printing dollars, let's say they 2x their dollar account. The inflation is 2x. So now instead of $100, they have $200. So now what $1 used to equal one orange or one Bitcoin, it's now $2 equals one orange or one Bitcoin. If you were a guy that had the dollars, that now sucks because now you have to spend 2 of your dollars to get the one orange that you used to be able to spend 1 of your dollars. If you didn't even have any dollars, you now have to work twice as many hours for those $2 because the inflation made it to where now you have to work twice as many dollars to get the same amount of apples. If you're a holder, orange. If you're a holder of the orange, this is awesome. If you're a holder of the Bitcoin, this is cool because of inflation, they just doubled the price of your asset. And that doesn't even bring into the fact of usually people want the asset, which helps it appreciate even more. So if you actually are the holder of the asset and you can sell that asset back to the people who are stuck in the fiat, you're doubling your money as it equals. But now let's go a step further to the apples. Let's say we cut those apples in half, hyper deflationary. You take it from 100 to 50. This is the PTDC and UFO. This is the scarce asset, the asset that's just getting bought and burnt. You only have 50 to $100 now, but then they inflate the currency, so it's $200. So now, instead of it being 1-to-1 ratio, like it was, and then instead of it being 2-to-1, like it was compared to a great asset that's just not deflationary, it's 4-to-1. So now the asset that's hyper deflationary, the user who doesn't have to have it has to either spend 4 times the amount of their dollars to get it, or the user that doesn't even have money has to work 4 times the amount of hours to get it.
What an incredible example. And for those of you that are watching the live stream today, I know we've been going for almost an hour, but what incredible value you got today. And that little example that he gave you there, if you really take it to heart and understand, that's the difference between poor and middle class people and wealthy people. That little 1-minute analogy sums it up. Wealthy people put all of their time and energy and resources into buying apples and oranges, where the average person is spending all of their time and trading it for those fiat dollars. And that's really what separates people that are long-term financially free and people that have to work, until the day they die. So what an incredible example. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it's actually the hard truth, and a lot of people don't like to hear it, but by having assets or not having assets is the difference between the have-yots and the have-nots, right? It's if you don't have the assets, you are sadly the people you are the person the people with the assets are becoming rich off of.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's ultimately one of the things that we were trying to solve as a community is it is very, very hard to get out of this rat race that a lot of people get stuck into because of inflation constantly getting printed on top of you. If you are someone who don't have your assets yet, you have to work a lot of hours to get out of that system. And that's one thing that crypto's been amazing for, is it actually has given an average day person, if they can find the right assets and they can get in early, they find that needle in the haystack, they can actually change their life and their family's life. And that's ultimately one thing I was trying to solve for a bunch of people is, in crypto, there's a lot of gambling, there's a lot of noise, and it's really, really hard to find that needle in the haystack. So the goal was to actually create that needle to where an average person could actually find the good product, not have to park tons and tons of value into it, and they can actually get tons of X's and also get a good APY at the top, a competitive APY at the top. Because the truth is if you can find an asset that does a bunch of X's and you ride it up 100X, what do you do with that asset? If that asset isn't paying you APY, if that asset is not working for you, you need to sell that asset and move it into a vessel that is working for you. So if you want a system to have sustainability and longevity, you need to build the APY into the code. You need to make sure that value is generating more value, or eventually the value will leave. So we like to use the model, you come for the X's and you stay for the APY.
I love it. And so many people, including me, have found out that capital gains only take you so far. I mean, if I had $1 for every person that I know that made a lot of unrealized gains in the last bull market, but didn't change their life with it, I'd be a millionaire. Like, you hear that story over and over and over and over and over. It's like a broken record. How many people got involved in crypto at the right time, turned a few $1,000s or, a few $10,000 into significant money on paper, but technically it never made their life any better. And so I just, I don't think things happen by accident. I think that we were definitely meant to come across each other because we believe, so much in the same things. I tell my crypto community all the time that I don't believe God put us here on this earth to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week for 40, 50, 60 years of our life, just barely existing. And the cryptocurrency it's the great equalizer, as you said. If you can find the needle in the haystack, a hardworking single mom that's only making 20, 25 bucks an hour can still get enough money into crypto if they're deliberate about it to change the wealth needle in their life. If you're a dual family, mom and dad both working 40, 50 hours a week to just make ends meet, if you find the needle in the haystack, you can diligently put some money into that and change the wealth needle in your life. We talk all the time. It's all about freedom. The freedom to be able to take your kids to school in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon, or do what you want to do. Like, all of the influencers that are talking about the Lambos and the mansions and all of that stuff, that's all fine and dandy. But when it really comes down to it, we're just talking about being able to have freedom and be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And it sounds like you guys exist. Like, when you're looking at a project and you're trying to determine, why does this project exist? What real world value does it have? What real world problem is it solving? To me, it sounds like that was the issue that you saw, and that's the issue that you're trying to fix. And it feels like you did it.
Yeah, it definitely, because all these things are the questions that I've been asking for the last 5 years. Is even when the utility last cycle, the utility theme was like the really big push is, you need your protocol to have utility. You need it to have utility, or it doesn't mean anything, which that's not the narrative this cycle. And I'm going to tell you why it's not the narrative. Is last cycle, everyone was pushing utility. So they were strapping on a utility to every token just to give it a utility. But what no one was realizing is, you need a user to use that utility, or it means absolutely nothing. And the honest truth is, if the user doesn't need to use that utility, they're not going to use it. They are only going to use the utilities that they have to use. So that's why this cycle, it's changed, because all those utilities actually didn't need a user, and they realized that they were just tricking users into using that utility. You might as well just trick them into buying the token, so you get to get 100% of the capital into one token instead of a small fee on their revenue. And that's why I believe this cycle. But where we actually found out is if you create a utility that isn't dependent on the need of a human, but dependent on a mechanical function, you get the best of both worlds. You get to actually generate revenue from an outside source and bring it in, and you get to utilize the users when they come into the system, their value goes into our liquidity web, and instantly that value gets put to work into the utility. And this is the problem with everything that exists in crypto, in my opinion, is they're reliant on internal revenue. They're reliant on a user coming in with value. Well, guess what? Eventually that user wants something out. So it's all constantly pretty much robbing Peter to pay Paul inside of an internal system. So how you solve this is you create a method that brings revenue from outside sources into a singular system. So when the music does stop, there's enough chairs for multiple users. If you don't have enough chairs, people get left standing. And that's the sad truth about crypto. Like you said, last cycle, there's all these people that are, let's say turn $1,000 into $100,000 in crypto, but they actually never got to realize those gains. It's because there's only enough money for a couple people in those liquidity pools.
Yep.
There isn't enough money. So there's one thing why what's so unique about this system is we generate revenue off of a big liquidity web. So we're actually encouraged to keep adding liquidity. So that doesn't only give us more revenue to make money off of, it gives us more revenue to have there for our community ourselves. The UFO token, a lot of people don't realize it, it's 20% backed by liquidity. You don't see a $70, $80 million token that has $30 million in liquidity in it. It just doesn't exist. Why? Because it's difficult to pump. But why does that not matter to us? Because we don't have a problem pumping because we use this revenue to generate buy-in burns.
Yep, absolutely. Oop, what happened there?
I don't know what happened.
That was weird.
Blame it on Banana.
Right?
I'll take it.
Interesting. I appreciate my team. They wanted to make a PTCG overlay for you guys. So my graphic designer put it together, but for some reason when I try to add it, like I was it's not showing up. So the UFO disappeared, but the
because I'm sharing the screen.
I'm not quite sure. That shouldn't matter. I wouldn't think. There we go.
Yeah. So what it stands for?
We got it there. Awesome. So now let's go back to our other view here, and we should be good. And then we go to, let me see here. We want to go to, well, where?
I'll get it there.
There we go. Add that to stage. There we go. Hey, all right, cool. Awesome. Thank you very much, William. That was very, very nice of you. So William, one of my right-hand men is on here monitoring the chat and stuff, and he heard you guys talking. And so he went and did that in the background and added it for us. So thank you so much, William.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, what the PTGC stands for is Pulse Chain. So that's the P, Gray's currency.
The Gray's currency. Okay, perfect. Awesome, guys. Well,
slides, Banana?
I have 2 slides that we should show at the end. I mean, Brad, if you want to look at a quick calculator, we can get into some forecasting. We call it moon math if you want.
Go for it, man. I'm having the time of my life, and we're in no hurry here. So I know there's some folks that are excited about the $100 giveaway, but hey, they're just going to have to wait.
So if you could share that other screen. And I wanted to tag, I'm always taking notes and things I want to say, but the founder of the Pulse Network is famous for having, at least on one occasion, said and he's a very beyond intelligent man. There are 2 ways to pump a token to the moon: create a deflationary token and create demand. He was able to create, and many people have done it, create a deflationary token, but the demand thing has always eluded everybody. It's why you heard Gray say when he figured it out, it sent chills down his spine.
Right.
So it's built into the code for each of these tokens because the AMM bots are creating that demand. Okay. So so this is the Moon Math calculator, and everybody can find this at lookintopgdc.com. There is free stuff on here and there's paid for stuff. If you want to pay for this stuff, reach out to me or just click through on the site. Lookintopgdc.com. We're on the Moon Math tab. You're not going to, yes, you are going to be able to see my cursor. Okay. So we're going to look at a scenario where Pulse, we'll look at two scenarios where Pulse does, and that's the layer one, does a number of X's, but PTDC is going to do a number of X's against Pulse and has a strong history of doing that. If you know anything about Richard Hart, the founder of the Pulse Network, I already said it. He has an ego. I think the network is going to do, it could do fairly well. You know, the average X's for a layer one on its first run is 650. You know, it doesn't mean that Pulse is going to do that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's probably going to do something. And we're gonna put something in here in this calculator, but we're going to keep it really modest at first. And we're going to say that PTDC is going to do a 2x. So that's the X factor of 2. And then we're going to say Pulse does, let's make it a very modest 10x. Spoiler alert, 2 times 10. That's going to be a 20x. But this calculator it calculates from the current price of PTDC and multiplies it times 20. So we'll click on calculate, and down here we will see there's that 20x, which gives us nearly a 2-cent PTDC. To give you some perspective, it is at the current price is right here, 30939. Okay, so that's a 20x. Now we could put any numbers in here that we want, but I'm gonna keep it a little. We're gonna do a little exaggerated. We're gonna go with a 10x against the layer one. Now, mind you, we've done 20x since August, 57x in the last year. Just depends, I guess, on how long it will take Pulse to do a 100x. Because that's what I'm going to put in here. And a 100x from the price of Pulse right now would be about a 50x from the sacrifice price. So I'm still being a little bit modest. 100 times 10, it's 1,000. Which would give us, if this happened, would give us a 91-cent PTDC or 1,000x. So there's your Moon Math.
I'll add to this a little bit if you don't mind, Banana.
Please.
So one thing with this Moon Math is a lot of people, talk about tokens or talking about their tokens or whatever, doing a 100x or a 200x, but they actually.
He probably got a
Can you
phone
hear
call.
me still all right? Sorry, I was getting a call. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I got a phone call. My wife we got dinner reservations for tonight for Valentine's Day, so she's probably wondering where the hell I am. But let me keep going. I'm making my way home slowly. I might have to bunk at Banana's house if she kicks me out. So, so a lot of people talk about like, hey, we're trying to do 100x, 200x, but they actually don't know mechanically on how LP pools work and how to actually do it. And I started talking about this X multiplier idea, I think, a year ago now, and I had never heard anyone talk about how this stuff works in this fashion. And when you talk about it in this fashion and explain it in this fashion, it actually shows how easy it is to do crazy amounts of X's. The reason why a lot of people don't even know this exists is for two reasons. One, they're involved in tokens that don't have any sustainability. So the tokens are going to be dead in the month anyway, so it doesn't matter. Or they're built on a blockchain that's already done 1,000 X's. So if you build on a blockchain that already has done thousands of X's, you already lost the opportunity of the biggest X multipliers. So for an example, we're built on a blockchain that's done 0 X's. It's literally at the bottom floor. So if the blockchain does a 20x from here, we get to multiply that 20x by whatever x's we can do in the meantime. So just in the last 6 months, we've been able to do 20x. Well, what if in the next 6 months we do another 10x? And let's say the blockchain does a 20x. That's called the X multiplier. You're able to multiply these two together, not add, which a lot of people would actually naturally think. So it actually makes it that easy to do a 200x from this point. And that's just a 10x of PTDC or UFO and a 20x of our connected liquidity pools, which equals a 200x, which, like I just explained, is very, very simple to do. All you need to have is sustainability and be built on a blockchain that hasn't done its X's yet. So you want to build your store, your business in the city before it becomes a popping city. You want to be building your projects before the S curve, not after the S curve. Keep going, Banana. Sorry.
Well, that was it for the that was it for the calculator. I don't want to get too deep, perhaps, for the audience. If there are other calculators we can go into. If we ever restream, like Brad, if you're once you become more familiar with the system, then we can go into these other calculators. But I think we would probably lose people's attention if we did that. But I did want to open it up, Brad. If you have any burning questions, I mean, now's a great time to ask them.
I have soaked this in really well, and I'm just excited to, go buy some tokens and get more involved in the ecosystem. And then I've already, throughout this video, definitely thought about some videos that I can make that will help, my community to understand and how, probably a little tutorial on how to go get their Pulse chain added to their MetaMask and how to bridge funds over and start buying tokens. Because I notice, for me, one of the things that I normally do is, talk about, the markets. So, this is the Gray's currency here. And if we look at the markets, well, this is where it's showing that it's available. So, a lot of times, even if a cryptocurrency is a little bit harder to get to, they might be on a MEXC, or they might be somewhere centralized where they can be bought. Where right now I see this as opportunity because people are going to have to learn how to navigate, the Pulse chain ecosystem a little bit. So for me, I don't have a ton of questions. I'm just really excited to move forward and start investing in these projects and teaching my community how to maximize it too.
That's awesome. That's like music to my ears. Since you're looking to transact, a couple of words before you transact. You want to transact from a wallet that you intend to keep the tokens on, if you can, because there's a transfer fee. There's a 6%
or 5%.
Yes, sir. And then then PulseX is probably the best DEX to use. Set your slippage for PTDC to 6%, for UFO 7%.
Okay.
And that should about cover it, unless you had anything to add, Gray.
Yeah, no, that's about it. Yeah, just before you get the tokens, kind of pre-plan what wallet you want these tokens in, because you don't want to buy it all in one wallet and then have to send them to other wallets.
Yeah, makes sense. So as they were mentioning earlier, folks, there's a 6% transaction fee on the buy and sell or the transfer of. So if you bought 1 million tokens and then you decided to send your 1 million tokens from one wallet to another wallet, you're going to lose 60,000 tokens in that transaction. You're going to end up with 940,000 tokens in the new wallet. So you want to buy these tokens in the wallet that you want to keep them in. The other thing that's going to be kind of fun for you guys as you buy these tokens is that 1% of that 6% goes to you as a holder of the tokens. So if you owned 1 million tokens and you looked back at your wallet a few days later, maybe you own 1,057,000 or 1,001,000 or whatever, but your balance, as long as you just hold the tokens, is going to slowly go up, because every single time somebody buys or sells the token or transfers the token to a new wallet and pays that tax, it goes back, a percentage of it goes back to you, the holder.
You'll see them stacking up in your wallet immediately. Like as soon as somebody else transacts or an AMM bot transacts, those reflections are going to come to your wallet. You can literally buy it and just watch it start kind of stacking up. It might take a couple of minutes, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Awesome. So, I think at this point, I just wanted to double check. I've got the link to your website, the link to your Telegram, the link to your Twitter. Everything is right there at the top of the description. Where would you like my community to connect with your community the most? You like them to, Telegram and Twitter, or where would you like them to go?
I'm ready with a slide that will actually talk about that.
Great.
So you'll drop that up. We have 6 public meetings every week. It's that slide in the lower right, if you would. I don't think I can put it up.
No worries. There we go.
Yeah, man. Okay, so we have 6 public meetings every week.
Okay.
We have 2 AMAs, 2 Twitter Spaces, and 2 Telegram chats, like a voice chat where you can speak with Gray. I do the AMAs. Like there's one this Sunday. If anybody's super curious, jump into the AMA. You can ask any questions. Brad, you're welcome to join. And probably the best place outside of those 6 meetings every week is going to be our Telegram. We have community experts that have been in here longer than I've been in the Gray's currencies, and they can answer any questions. And you will find our Telegram chat very welcoming and warm. We're inviting.
Awesome. I love it, folks. So you just got it right there from the horse's mouth. That's where you want to go. The link to all of that, except for the YouTube channel, I believe is in the description of the video. If I need to get a special link to the Telegram voice chats, I'll get that from these guys and put it into the description. If they get into your normal Telegram group, I'm assuming they can find the voice chat?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so
it'll be, I think, well, Gray does the voice chats. So he announces it like several hours in advance and people can put a notification in for it. I believe is how it works.
Yeah, it's the same exact 2 times every single week. So it's Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And really what those are is it's just a live VC where anyone can come up and ask me questions about the protocol or just conversations if they have questions to learn. And when no one's asking questions, I just run through some of the weekly stats, talking about volume, APY, what the protocol has earned in the last 24 hours, stuff like that, just to fill time while questions come up.
Gray is being over modest. I have been in the voice chats, and I'm going to embarrass you a little bit, Gray. I mean, they're lit, guys. You literally get to hear from the founder, talk about the projects that he has spent months and months and years building, and sleepless nights perhaps, and he knows them inside and out. And just get ready to have your mind blown. And this was just a little taste, perhaps.
Awesome. Well, I definitely look forward to joining you guys on some of those and participating. And let's go ahead and give away $100, and then we'll let everybody go enjoy their evening. So I'm going to pop over here to my screen, and we're going to go. Let me kind of give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of how we do this. So we're going to go into the StreamYard giveaway tool here. And in order to win the giveaway, you have to still be here. So if you came in and typed in hashtag UFO right in the beginning of the stream and you're not here, you wouldn't have won anyway. But the hashtag UFO isn't going to be what we got to do anyways. We're going to do hashtag the Grays is going to be how we give this money away. So right now, folks, if you're still here, go type in hashtag the Grays. And that's going to get you entered into the $100 giveaway. While you guys are doing that, I want to bring up my YouTube channel. You guys can see here the chat is going absolutely crazy. Once you have been notified that you're a winner, we need you to say something in the chat and let us know that you are here. Holy smokes, you guys are moving out quick. But what I'm going to do when somebody pops up as a winner, I'm going to click on your bio like this, and I'm going to go to your channel. And that's going to bring up your own personal YouTube channel. And I want you to take this about section, and I want to have you put in a Ethereum-based MetaMask address. And I am going to send 4 of you $25 in USDC, and that's graciously donated by Grays and the the team. So thank you guys for letting us do this giveaway. I do this for 2 reasons. You'd be surprised, folks, at how many people try to scam us out of 25 bucks. So by doing this, they can't scam me anymore, because once I pulled this up, it's kind of unique to them, and I leave this here. So for those of you that are ready to go, we got about 36 people that have typed in the Grays, and I'm going to go ahead and start drawing so that we have a few people, folks, that have like created 10 or 15 YouTube profiles, and they try to game the system. So that's part of the reason that I switch it up and do the Grays at the end rather than using the UFO for the whole time. So let's go ahead and draw 4 winners, though. Let's get it rolling.
Now I understand why there were so many pound UFOs in the chat.
Oh yeah. That's they knew, or they thought that was going to be how they won the $100. Yeah. So we got Julie RR. If you are still here, let me know in the chat.
Yeah.
The second winner. Rocky Vibes. Hey, Rocky, man, appreciate you so much. This is a long time community member, somebody that's really been a supporter of the channel. So I love to see you win. Congratulations. Ricky Paul Serrano, thank you very much for being here, and you are a winner of $25. And then I think maybe the next time we do a giveaway here, what I might make people do is create the PulseX wallet and actually give them some UFO or the PGTC token. Did I say that right? PTGC, yeah. So maybe next time we'll give them the actual token. This time I wasn't sure how many people would be prepared to receive the token, so I'm just giving away USDC. And then our 4th winner is loves to be dramatic. Hey, the Deadwood. Congratulations. Right. The Deadwood, man. So with that, I'm going to pop back over here to, I'm assuming that they are hopefully all still here. Deadwood is here. So I'm going to go to his channel, click back, and we're looking for Julie RR. Julie RR, did you say anything in the chat since we drew your name? Here's Ricky. I'm going to go ahead and grab his. Since he's there, we're going to go to Ricky's channel, and then we'll pop back, and we're looking for Julie RR and Rocky Vibes. Are you still here? There's Rocky. Did anybody see Julie in the channel, or do I need to draw a new winner? There she goes right here, Julie RR, go to channel. So awesome, we got our winners. And folks, I mean, what an amazing live stream this was. As far as, you know, we're very, very much, you know, we believe that Bitcoin and Ethereum and those types of tokens are, you know, a great way to build wealth if you want to build wealth over the next 10, 20 years. But we also understand that you got to dive a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole if you want to create wealth in this bull market or in a shorter time frame. And we believe that projects like yours are the way, you know, to do that. So, man, I think we really came across an incredible, incredible winner here today. I was excited about it before we spent this last hour and a half together, but I just am absolutely cannot wait to add this to my portfolio and to continue our relationship. I hope that we have opportunities to work together more and more in the future. And I just want to thank both of you for your time. I know that you guys are working 10, 12, 16, 20-hour days, you know, in this bull market. And so we appreciate you taking an hour and a half of your time to come and share everything that you did with us. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. You are welcome. My DMs, Brad, will remain open for you if you have any questions.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, with that, thank you all for joining us. You guys were an incredible audience. Thank you for the participation. And we will see you all very soon again in the next video. Have an amazing...
Real quick, Brad,
yeah,
if you don't mind. I just before we go, I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving us the opportunity for, you know, coming on here and educating you and your community on this protocol. Sometimes I can get in rants because I'm just very, very passionate about this whole thing. I've spent the last 5 years of my life technically working on it. So I just wanted to say thank you for letting me and Banana come up and talk about the protocol.
You are very welcome, man. It was my pleasure. So you guys have an incredible Valentine's. I hope you all get to spend some wonderful time with your loved ones. And with that, we'll see you again very soon in the next video. Take care, all.
Thank you, Brad. See you later, man.